Bhutani, Mr. Rodgi, Mr. Arvind Datar, eminent members of the legal profession, tax profession, eminent journalists, advocates, foreign dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. I am indeed touched by the kind words said about me by Mr. Bhutani. At the end of the day, I have done my duty to my country through the institution like the Supreme Court of India and nothing beyond that. Coming to the subject, I have, during my career, decided not to give interviews to the press. I decided not to interact with people who had matters in court. Even with regard to interviews, let me say that when judge gives interview, he expresses an opinion. We don't give judgments without hearing the other side. And that is one reason why I avoided giving interviews. And in fact, in some cases, we have received applications in Supreme Court. Many people may not be aware that the judge shall recuse from the matter because he has written an article in the newspaper. That is what, because ultimately, justice must not only be done, it must be seen to be done. I remember in Delhi, I was invited to play golf. I did not become member of the club because I also know that sometimes the perception is there that here is a judge who plays golf with the lawyer and sits in the court and decides the matter when the same lawyer appears. So these are the problem. Now it's a way of how you look at the things in a given context, in a given country. Today, Justice Kalia of the United Supreme Court may have a different view than what Justice Kapadia may have. The American Supreme Court never looks at the All England report. They say that, no, we will go by our constitution. Indian Supreme Court goes by All England report, public law, and other things. It's a matter of opinion. It's a matter of perception. But today, I decided, and I told Mr. Bhutani when he invited me, that I shall not speak on Vodafone. Because I have authored the judgment, it would not be proper for me to justify. But at the end of the day, when I selected the topic of say, transfer pricing, I found that by a backdoor method against the same controversy of form versus substance is coming in. So judicial reticence restricts my remit to speak in this conference. It would not be proper for me, therefore, to speak about the judgment in Vodafone, Azadi Bachao, or McDowell, or even on retrospective legislation. Therefore, I thought of introducing the topic of international transfer pricing of intangibles. But let me tell you the problem which people do not understand. In the case which is decided by the Supreme Court, according to Justice Matthews, one of the most eminent judges of our Supreme Court, the strength of the judiciary, please try to remember these words, the strength of the Indian judiciary lies in case-to-case adjudication. This principle will apply even to tax law if you are invoking the doctrines like lifting the corporate veil, like form versus substance, legal concepts of tax avoidance, value and valuation methods. The strength of the judiciary lies in case-to-case adjudication. Secondly, the courts react. The regulator is a body which is proactive. Courts merely react to the arguments which are placed before them. This is the difference between courts and regulators. Then why do we have standards? Why do we have tests? Why do we have concepts and doctrines? The real reason is that tests, standards, valuation method, AL standards, arm's length standards, they all restrict the discretion of the officer in the tax department. The whole idea is, Lord Bigman has said, law is not discretion. And if you have to restrict that discretion, you need to apply certain standards on the data, which is a manageable data, on the facts of a given case. And that is why it is said that the strength of the judiciary is on case-to-case adjudication. Let me give you, ladies and gentlemen, a few examples, because this clarification needs to be understood by the audience. When we come to rule of interpretation, when a matter comes to the court at the highest level, we have to go by the strict rule of interpretation. When we interpret the Constitution, we will take the broadest possible view of the words which are used in the Constitution. Take the case of Indian Constitution, Article 39, sub-article B, small b. It says that the state will distribute the natural resources for common good. Now, when I am required to interpret the word common good, I will interpret in the largest possible manner, because the Constitution is being interpreted. Recently, Justice Roberts of the United States Supreme Court delivered a judgment on insurance matter, compulsory insurance. Why did he take the view that it is a tax and not a penalty? Because he was required to interpret the schematic interpretation of the Constitution. So when we deal with Constitution, the interpretation has to be purposive, broad-based, not necessarily textual. But I would like to add a caveat. That doctrine also flows from the words used in the Constitution. Doctrines do not come from the air. They are the words which are used in the Constitution. For example, under Article 254 of the Constitution, we have a doctrine of repugnancy. It comes from the words which are used in Article 254. So whenever the courts have to interpret Constitution, the test which applies is quite different from the test which applies to an income tax act or a fiscal law, because our legal regime has taught us that tax laws have to be interpreted textually. This is very important, particularly when we are interpreting a charging section in the Income Tax Act, like section 459. This textual interpretation is very important when we are interpreting a deeming fiction, as in section 9.